Weeks before his death in 1826, Thomas Jefferson recalled the Declaration of Independence as an instrument pregnant with our own and the fate of the world. Hindsight had distilled the twofold significance of the Declaration. The Declaration was the birth certificate of the United States of America, the first official document to use that name publicly, and the first to speak in the unanimous voice of the 13 colonies. But it was also a diplomatic document, directed to the powers of the earth to secure their military and commercial support for the colonists' cause against Great Britain. Most Americans have seen the Declaration as America's founding creed, a charter recognizing their individual rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. At the same time, many outside the United States have taken it as a charter of their collective rights to form one people, to revolt against external authorities, to secede from empires, and to form independent states. It's rare to see a new political form emerge, but the Declaration of Independence was just such a novelty. There had been secessions and revolts before the 1770s, but no single people had publicly and legally announced their desire for the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them with such a declaration. Of course, the Declaration of Independence was born of political and military necessity. By July 1776, it had become imperative for the colonists to issue a manifesto to justify the 13 colonies' rebellion against Great Britain. The Declaration effectively declared war on the British state. However, the colonists lacked material support from abroad, most importantly from France. To win the war, they needed commercial and military alliances in the form of treaties with other powers. And external recognition was imperative to make these treaties legitimate. The Declaration's international influence, though, began inauspiciously. The first copy of the document sent by ship to the French court was lost in transit, and other copies dispatched across the Atlantic were soon captured by British vessels. But by the fall of 1776, word of the Declaration and then translations of it had spread across Europe. It would take until February 1778 for the Declaration to have the desired diplomatic effect, when France offered a treaty of amity and commerce with the breakaway states. However, the Declaration of Independence would also exert a great influence on other nations across history. There have been hundreds of declarations of independence issued around the world since 1776. Over half of the states now represented at the United Nations have a foundational document they call a Declaration of Independence or similar. And since 1945, no seceded state has secured international recognition without such a declaration. In the 50 years or so after 1776, declarations of independence appeared from Vermont to Chile, from Haiti to Paraguay. The form then spread beyond the Americas, with similar documents appearing in Greece, Belgium, New Zealand, Liberia, and Hungary. While some adopted the form of the U.S. Declaration to secure American support, most diverged from it as the genre took on a life of its own. Declarations of independence have clustered around the collapse of empires. The Spanish monarchy in the early 19th century, the Habsburg, Hohenzollern, and Romanov empires after World War I, and the European overseas empires during decolonization after World War II. Across the 20th century, nationalists from Czechoslovakia to Korea claimed their sovereignty using the Declaration's language. The past 50 years have seen declarations of independence from Kosovo to South Sudan. as well as independence movements from Catalonia to Greenland. Most people beyond the United States have viewed the Declaration as a charter for national independence or popular sovereignty. Far fewer appealed to the individual promises of the Declaration's second paragraph. In the end, we can firmly say that the Declaration was original, that its influence has been explosive, and that its influence in world history has been as great as its significance with the United States, though often for distinct and different reasons.